The River Thames has always been a source of intrigue and mystery.
These are dinosaur prints that scientists say are more than 100 million years old, usually covered with water.
Over the years, people have uncovered some truly shocking finds beneath its surface. In this video, we're looking into the most terrifying discoveries made when the river was drained. From strange creatures to bizarre relics, you won't believe what was hiding at the bottom.
Hopefully there's some bison horns under there.
Bison were once the kings of the plains, massive, powerful animals that shaped entire landscapes. These giants roamed North America in huge herds, and their bones still tell stories from centuries ago. This time, it was a full bison skull, floating in the water, just waiting to be found. It belonged to a young female bison, likely over 300 years old, but honestly, it might have been even older. It came out of a clay layer where other finds were dated over 3,000 years. That's wild. Most younger bison bones fall apart like potato chips since they're usually found in the top 8 feet of soil, but this one, it held up like a champ.
Kind of cool. It's the first one I found with the upper jaw in this entire year.
Voodoo dolls and dive lights.
Oh, she's got a little one with her.
Voodoo dolls aren't always scary. They're handmade figures often used in spiritual rituals or as symbols, sometimes for healing, sometimes for protection. But when you find one underwater with its feet tied and 2 little dolls on its shoulders, things feel a bit off. During a final dive in the American River to find a lost flashlight, a diver ended up finding something even more unexpected, a second voodoo doll. This one had hair, flowers, a tiny dress, and lots of detail. It looked creepy, but also kind of innocent, though his fiancée wasn't thrilled, but he decided to keep it.
I don't know if it's just some sort of figurine that was made and thrown in the river, if it's a voodoo type doll or something.
Peace River find. Megalodon teeth are like ancient shark trophies. These monsters lived millions of years ago, grew over 60 feet long, and had teeth the size of your hand, basically sea dinosaurs. In one exciting video, a diver, fully geared up, pulled a massive megalodon tooth from the murky waters of Florida's Peace River, a popular place for fossil hunters. She was clearly thrilled, and who wouldn't be? This wasn't just any fossil, it was the relic of one of the biggest sharks ever. Watching her find this incredible piece of the past made the whole experience feel like a real adventure.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful!
Ice Age discovery. Ice Age giants roamed the earth long before us, and some of their remains are still hidden beneath the ground. In Florida, a diver stumbled upon a huge mastodon tooth, a remarkable piece of history from these ancient creatures. Mastodons were large, elephant-like mammals that lived during the Ice Age, and their teeth were built for grinding tough plants. When the diver found the tooth in a Florida swamp, she was beyond excited.
Oh my god.
That's really nice.
Look at that.
Mammoth mission. Fossil hunting is wild. You never know what's hiding beneath your feet, or in this case, under the sea. Off the coast of Florida, 2 fossil divers made an unbelievable discovery. Not 1, but 2 massive Columbian mammoth tusks. These ancient giants roamed North America during the Ice Age, standing 13 feet tall and weighing over 10 tons. Their tusks were the longest of any animal, up to 16 feet. The ones they found were around 5 to 7 feet and incredibly delicate. Lifting them took serious care, using tarps, straps, and float bags. After the recovery, they soaked the tusks for weeks to remove salt before preserving them. It was fossil hunting gold, literally frozen in time. Sunken mystery. Skeletons in water, yep, you read that right. It might sound like something straight out of a spooky story, but this one happened for real at Lake Mead. A diver exploring the lake's depths came across 2 human skeletons sitting in lawn chairs on the lake bed. One was even trapped in a cage and wearing sunglasses. The diver was so shocked by the eerie sight that he immediately called the police. It was a bizarre discovery that left everyone wondering what the true story behind it was. Horned hunter.
This is a skull of the extinct horned crocodile of Madagascar.
People usually think crocodiles haven't changed forever, but that's not really true. On the island of Madagascar, scientists found something wild, the skull of a crocodile that went extinct about 2,000 years ago. This wasn't just any croc, it had little horns and was way smaller than today's Nile crocodile. Only one croc species lives there now, but old stories and local legends kept the search alive. Deep in a flooded cave, researchers finally spotted it, a full skull. It didn't match the Nile croc, and that confirmed it belonged to a completely different species. Now they're hoping to get DNA from it and learn how it fits into the crocodile family tree. Fossil at the hook.
I just caught something 90 million years ago that has never been seen by a human eye.
Fishing tournaments are full of surprises. Sometimes you catch a big one, sometimes you don't. But this one, totally next level. During a tournament in South Dakota, one fisherman wasn't having much luck. While casting his line in the Missouri River, he thought he'd just hit a rock, but when he got closer, he saw something strange. At first, he thought it was a fish or deer skeleton. He snapped a photo, posted it online, and boom. Turns out he found a 90 million year old fossil of a prehistoric fish. Experts rushed to check it out, and yep, it was real. He didn't win the tournament, but he caught something way cooler.
Thought it was a big catfish skeleton or a deer skeleton, you know. Did you know that's a 90 million year old fossil that's in that picture? I'm like, what?
Creature in the cliff. Sometimes you dig for rocks and end up digging up rumors. That's exactly what happened during a mountain cutting project when workers found something wild. An actual dead body of a strange creature. It looked big, had huge wings, and people immediately started saying it looked like Jatayu from the Ramayana. But hang on, according to the story, Lord Ram already did Jatayu's last rites, so this couldn't be him. Still, the sight was enough to create a buzz. A huge crowd showed up, curious and confused. Was it Bigfoot? Some ancient bird? Either way, it became the talk of the town. Strange tracks revealed.
These are dinosaur prints that scientists say are more than 100 million years old, usually covered with water and filled with sediment, but you can clearly see them now, and they go on for more than 300 yards down this riverbed.
In Texas, a historic drought revealed some incredible dinosaur tracks along the riverbed at Dinosaur Valley State Park. These tracks, believed to be over 100 million years old, are usually hidden beneath water and sediment, but the low water levels allowed scientists to finally map out these imprints for the first time. The tracks belong to two massive species, including the 60-foot-tall Sauroposeidon, which weighed around 100,000 pounds. With the state receiving much-needed rain, experts are hoping to preserve this amazing discovery, which might be one of the longest dinosaur trackways in the world.
Like they're in stone and they're forever, but they're not. Just the next flood we have, they could be all gone.
Gold rush in Iraq. Recently, the Euphrates River, which has been drying up due to a combination of drought and poor water management by Iraq and its neighboring countries, revealed something unexpected: gold. Miners have been spotted around the river, picking up pieces of gold that were scattered like pebbles. The discovery led to memories of an ancient prophecy by Prophet Muhammad, who said the Euphrates would one day reveal a treasure of gold. While it's not clear if this is the treasure foretold, the find has certainly left people wondering if there's more to come, and how this will affect the region. Hidden castle. Isn't it crazy how droughts can reveal things we've never seen before? That's exactly what happened in Turkey when Hastek Castle popped back up from the waters of the Euphrates River. This ancient structure had been submerged since 1974 when a dam was built, but as water levels dropped, it re-emerged, standing proudly once again. The castle, carved into the mountain, has narrow passageways and rooms that are now open for explorers. It's like nature's way of giving us a peek into the past. Historians and tourists alike have been rushing to see it. Coins, rings, and surprises.
Non-native coin. And it's going to be an American dime.
Treasure hunting never gets old, especially when you're digging up real history. Two people explored the muddy bottom of the Welsh Harp Reservoir in West London after it was drained. Armed with metal detectors, they started finding all kinds of amazing old things. They uncovered over 70 coins, some from the 1700s and 1800s, including a silver coin from 1949 and even an American dime. They also found 6 rings, one possibly with a real diamond. There was a shiny pearl ring, some buttons, and a few religious medals, but the best find, a 400-year-old bell that still rang. Now that was a seriously good day in the mud.
I found The crotal bell. It's the earliest find by far. That probably dates to the 1700s, 1600s maybe.
One day, a man was rowing down the River Thames as usual when he spotted on the riverbed was a human leg bone, and not just any old bone. It turned out to be over 5,000 years old. Experts said it came from the late Stone Age, between 3,516 and 3,365 BC. That's even before the pyramids or Stonehenge. The person was around 5 feet and 7 inches, but their gender wasn't clear. The bone was handed over to the museum because, wow, that's real ancient history.
And then obviously the kind of, okay, be respectful, because this was actually a human being. This was a person. They had a life. They were doing stuff around here.
Hidden tank found. Tanks are just so cool, huge heavy machines that were built for battle and often left behind stories buried in the ground. Well, that's what happened in eastern Poland, where a rare World War II British-made Valentine tank was found buried under mud in the Warta River. This tank is especially unique because there are no other preserved Valentines anywhere in Europe. It had been part of the Red Army and was likely lost in 1945 when it sank while crossing the frozen river. The fact that it stayed hidden underwater all these years and is still in such remarkable condition is amazing. Bones beneath ice. Have you ever heard of a lake hiding skeletons? Well, this one did. Tucked away in the Indian Himalayas, a small, quiet lake held a shocking secret. Hundreds of human skeletons lying just below the surface. Back in 1942, a forest worker found them while patrolling the area. At first, people thought it might have been some ancient battle or tragic accident. Later research showed the bones were really old, some over 1,000 years, and belonged to groups from both South Asia and even the Mediterranean. This was one wild discovery in one frozen lake. Crumpled giant. Fossils from the ocean? Now that's always exciting. The sea has been around way longer than we have, and sometimes it gives us little clues about what once swam through its depths. A diver came across something that looks straight out of prehistory, what seemed like the spine of a massive fish with part of its skull base still attached. The bones were huge but fragile. As soon as they were touched, the vertebrae began to fall apart. That's how ancient they were. Judging by the size and shape, it might have belonged to a Leedsichthys, one of the biggest bony fish ever known. Just a guess, but a pretty exciting one. Bottled threats. Some dives bring treasure, others just questions. While exploring Georgia's Chattahoochee River, a popular spot for whitewater rafting and lost gadgets, one diver made a seriously strange discovery. Instead of phones or watches, he pulled out 3 eerie bottles. The first one, a 2-liter bottle packed with knives, each one wrapped in a note. Yeah, knives, like someone bottled up bad intentions. Another jar had a name written on it with the word die right underneath, not exactly a friendly message. The third was a hot sauce bottle with some kind of unreadable note inside. It's wild what people toss into rivers. Underwater find. Doraemon is every kid's favorite robotic cat from the future, right? I mean, who wouldn't want a Doraemon of their own with all those amazing gadgets? Well, one lucky person might have their wish come true. A Doraemon statue was found submerged in the sea, and it's believed to be around 400 years old. Can you imagine that? A statue of the famous character lying underwater for centuries. While it seems pretty wild, it could be a unique historical find. The statue was in good condition, making it an intriguing mystery. It's like something straight out of a kid's dream, but this time it's history mixed with fun. Buddha beneath water. In East China's Jiangxi province, a Buddha statue that had been hidden underwater for centuries suddenly appeared when the water level in a reservoir dropped. People spotted the Buddha's head and the top of an archway just above the surface. Archaeologists said it belonged to Shakyamuni, the Gautama Buddha, sitting calmly on a lotus. The statue was from the early Ming dynasty and was in surprisingly good shape. They also found temple roof pieces nearby and used sonar to detect more ruins underwater. The site might have once held a full temple complex. What a peaceful and powerful discovery. 350-year-old finds.
So here we have a little bag seal. It should have some information on it, or not.
Old stuff hiding in plain sight makes mudlarking so cool. It's like history just waits on the shore for someone to come pick it up. While exploring the Thames foreshore, a 350-year-old relic popped out of the mud. It looked a bit worn, but part of it was still easy to recognize. It turned out to be a cloth seal, used hundreds of years ago to show that a piece of cloth was checked and approved before sale. You could even see where it had been twisted and sealed together. Simple, useful, and now a really cool find.
Yeah, there's something on that side, a bit indecipherable, but that's probably a nice, actually it's probably cloth seal. Yeah, a couple of 100 years old, 300-400 years old maybe.
Cannonball discovery. While out searching along the River Thames, the person pulled out a cannonball from the black mud. It wasn't something they usually collected, preferring smaller metal finds, but this one was too intriguing to leave behind. The cannonball, dating back to the 18th century, likely came from one of the many ships that were being broken down along the foreshore. Interestingly, there weren't any battles fought on the Thames during this time, so it probably rolled off a ship. It was found at the site of a well-known shipbreaker's yard, adding to the mystery of how it ended up there. Amsterdam's lost wheels. Amsterdam is famous for its canals and for its bikes. But did you know those two things often end up tangled together? While cleaning the canals, workers found hundreds of bicycles stuck underwater in big clusters. Some were old, rusted, and barely holding together. Others looked like they had just sunk yesterday. It's not unusual either. Every year, thousands of bikes are pulled from the canals. Some were likely stolen and dumped, while others just accidentally fell in. Still, seeing so many bikes grouped together underwater was kinda wild. Only in Amsterdam could you go fishing and catch a bicycle. Boots and bones. Archaeology always uncovers fascinating pieces of the past, and sometimes it's like finding a time capsule. Recently, archaeologists working on the River Thames discovered the 500-year-old skeleton of a man wearing thigh-high leather boots. His body was found face down in the mud, suggesting he might have drowned or fallen in. His boots were surprisingly well preserved, offering a glimpse into his life. Experts think he could have been a fisherman or mudlark, making a living from the river. They also found signs that his work was physically demanding, with grooves in his teeth from repetitive actions. It's amazing how much can be learned from one person's remains. Sword of the Sea.
It was amazing to see a beautiful sword like this.
Swords are more than just pieces of equipment. They're symbols of strength, honor, and history. And when one gets discovered after hundreds of years, it's like holding a piece of the past in your hands. That's exactly what happened when an amateur diver found a 900-year-old crusader sword off the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. The sword, encrusted with marine life, was noticed when shifting sands revealed it. The diver, Shlomi Katzin, found it near Haifa, where crusader knights once sailed to the Holy Land. Experts believe it belonged to one of these knights. The sword, made mostly of iron, was heavy and powerful.
Good preservation sword made of iron, most of it made of iron, except probably the handle, which usually were made of wood or any other material.
Sunken fleet. Europe's recent drought caused water levels in the Danube River to drop, revealing a shocking discovery near the Serbian town of Prahovo. The remains of over 20 Nazi German Black Sea Fleet warships sunk during World War II emerged from the riverbed. These wrecks had been hidden for nearly 80 years. The ships had been part of a battle between the German fleet and the Red Army, leaving behind not just wreckage but an ongoing environmental threat. The wrecks are still dangerous, with concerns about leftover explosives, and the cost to remove them is estimated at 29 million euros. Truck underwater. Diving might not be for everyone, especially when you can barely see a foot in front of you, but for some, it's all about the thrill of discovery. In the fast-moving waters of the Detroit River, a Canadian diver found something strange, an old vehicle lying upside down on the riverbed. At first, he had no idea what it was. All he could see were wooden wheel spokes and a small glimpse of the engine. It turned out to be a truck, not a car, complete with a wooden floorboard, a truck bed, a heavy chain, and even an old-fashioned crank handle to start the engine. That thing clearly came from a different time. Giant sea dragon. Fossils are like time machines, and this one took us way back. Scientists in the UK found something huge, a 30-foot long sea creature called an ichthyosaur in Rutland. This sea dragon looked a bit like a dolphin, but it lived 180 million years ago. That's even older than the first dinosaurs most people know about. These creatures could grow up to 82 feet long, which is the size of a bus. People started calling them sea dragons because they had big eyes and scary teeth. The first one was found in the 1800s, but this new fossil was the biggest ever found in Britain. Pretty cool to think that something so ancient was hiding under our feet. Hidden statues. A recent drought in China caused the water levels of the Yangtze River in Chongqing to drop, uncovering something incredible: 3 ancient Buddha statues. These statues, believed to be over 600 years old, emerged from the water on a rocky island known as Foyiliang. The statues were identified as being from the Ming and Qing dynasties, and one even depicts a monk sitting on a lotus flower. It's a fascinating reminder of how history can resurface when we least expect it. Temple resurfaces. It's wild how droughts can reveal things long forgotten. In Thailand, a Buddhist temple that had been underwater for 20 years showed up again when water levels in a dam dropped to just 3%. Locals once played around this temple as kids, especially near the elephant statues. It used to be the heart of the village, where people held festivals, school events, and religious ceremonies. Then the dam was built and everything went under. Now, with the drought exposing it again, people came back to pay their respects to the Buddha statue. It was beautiful to see, but also sad, especially for farmers struggling with what experts say is Thailand's worst drought in a decade. Mudlark's lucky day.
I just spotted something really coin-like, but it's either...
People all over the world, especially in places like London, go mudlarking, which means hunting for old treasures along the riverbanks. And today, a girl spots something shiny while walking along the River Thames foreshore. At first, it looks like it could just be a shell, or maybe even a mussel, but nope, it's a coin, a real one. You can already see a bit of a shield design on it, probably old, like really old. She plans to clean it carefully to reveal more detail. Who knows, it might be a 500-year-old silver coin.
That is a coin. Okay, looks like a corner of a shield. I'm gonna have to really be careful with it.
River monster. While most people enjoy the view from the cable car above the Thames, one tourist got way more than they bargained for. While looking down at the river, they captured footage of something extraordinary. On the water, they saw the unmistakable shape of a giant sea creature, complete with 3 humps that rose above the surface before vanishing again. The footage quickly made waves online. It's rare to catch something like this on camera, especially in such an iconic location. Seeing footage like this reminds us that no matter how familiar we think a place is, there's always room for surprise. Creepy discoveries.
Another casing.
Another 4570?
No, smaller.
Metal detecting and mudlarking are always exciting, especially when exploring a 200-year-old drained lake. A treasure hunter traveled to Springfield, Massachusetts, where the lake had been drained for dam repairs. Though others had already been there, they were determined to find something cool. They unearthed a 1963 penny and an old casing while finding a glass marble nearby. They also stumbled upon some old bottles and even a creepy voodoo doll with a note attached. The best part? The casings were everywhere, making it feel like pieces of history were being uncovered with every dig.
Looks like an old jar lid, broken glass, and then right here in the middle, looks like a little voodoo doll.
River of limbs.
We're setting up the riverside for the float part of our adventure, and we set out about 6 different mannequins and torsos and body parts for when they went through the adventure, having no idea that this cliff behind me that is 6 or 8 feet down would ever.
Mannequins are already kind of creepy, but things got even crazier when this incident hit Pineville, Missouri. The Elk River washed away parts of a Halloween attraction. The people running the Elk River haunted float had set up about 6 mannequins with arms, legs, and bodies near the river for their scary ride. But the flood came fast, and all those fake body parts floated away. Now they might still be drifting down the river. Even a big 13-foot Halloween monster got pulled in, but they found him and plugged him back in. He still works. It was a spooky mess, but the show went on. Halloween can be wild sometimes. Strange discovery.
There we go. There we go. Yes! Oh. Holy mackerel! Look at that!
The woods are full of stories, but sometimes the wild gives you actual proof, or at least a mystery on camera. Deep in British Columbia, a crew was filming a Bigfoot documentary. Classic stuff: tall trees, broken branches, weird noises. Then right in the middle of a quiet riverbed, someone spotted a skull. At first look, it looked like a bear.
It is definitely a bear skull. Holy mackerel. Look at that.
But once they filmed it up close, totally different. The footage showed clear eye sockets, a strange shape, even a hole near the top. It didn't look fake, but it didn't look human either. Everyone was stunned. Cameras were rolling the whole time. Sometimes the best discoveries aren't planned. They're caught on film.
But that's not a human skull.
That might be a movie prop.
I mean, I'm almost afraid to say it. That could be a Sasquatch skull.
Big hunt.
If you see this in person, this thing is huge. It is so huge.
While walking through the woods, a person found massive footprints, big enough to be the size of a medium pillow. They had been washed away a bit by rain, but the prints were still clear, with toes visible, making it hard to ignore. No one would wear shoes that big, so they started thinking it might be Bigfoot. It wasn't the first strange thing they had found. They had discovered odd marks and even trails in the woods. This was something they had to keep looking into, as the prints seemed fresh, only a day old. They weren't about to go at it alone and asked for help to continue the search. Something big was definitely lurking out there.
I had to show you guys this. There's a Bigfoot out here somewhere, and I gotta be careful where I am right now.
Giant snake. Can you imagine a snake so massive it could make an anaconda look like a garden snake? Well, a huge discovery in Gujarat, India revealed a fossil of a giant ancient snake estimated to be around 36 to 49 feet long and weighing over 1,000 kg. This creature lived 7 million years ago and may have been related to the legendary Vasuki Naga. It's even bigger than the Titanoboa, the largest snake we know of. This incredible find is helping scientists understand more about life millions of years ago and just how big some prehistoric animals were. Who knew a snake could get so huge? Tower and lake. Some places look peaceful but hold a heavy past, and Lake Resia in northern Italy is definitely one of them. Back in the 1950s, a dam project flooded entire villages in the South Tyrol region. Homes, farms, streets, all went underwater, but the old bell tower of Couronne, that stayed, sticking out of the lake like a giant finger pointing to the sky. It looked beautiful, sure, but it also reminded people of everything they lost. A writer once visited and felt so moved, he wrote a novel about the town's story, about war, fascism, and forced silence. Today, the lake is full of tourists, trails, boats, and marathons, but that tower still tells its story. When stones spoke. Rivers don't just carry water, they carry stories. And in the Czech Republic, one story came back from the past. A massive stone popped up in the Elbe River near the town of Dayton after a serious drought. It was one of the old hunger stones, giant boulders carved during dry years to mark hard times. This one had a message on it that said, "When you see me, weep." Pretty intense, right? It was carved back in 1904 by a local businessman who even sold postcards and beer next to the stone. Experts say rivers like the Elbe are dropping lower every year because of climate change, so these old warnings are showing up again. Dolphins in town. Dolphins always bring a smile. They're smart, playful, and usually stick to deep sea waters, but sometimes they surprise us. A pod of dolphins was seen swimming in the River Thames near Canary Wharf. It was a rare sight. Londoners were shocked when they spotted about 6 to 8 dolphins heading toward Tower Bridge. These animals are usually found near the North Sea, not in the middle of the city. The last time dolphins showed up in London was back in 2017. This moment felt really special. It reminded everyone that nature can show up when you least expect it, even in a busy city like London. Hazmat Beach Day. A large round metal object washed up on the sand in Western Australia and no one knew what it was. People got a bit nervous, so a specialist hazmat team rushed in from Perth to check it out. They arrived at Greenhead and got to work right away. Their job was to figure out if this thing was dangerous or just weird. It looked like it had come from somewhere far, maybe from the ocean, maybe from space, or maybe even from a ship. Whatever it was, it definitely made the beach walk a little more interesting that day. Sacred carvings. Rivers usually carry water, rocks, and maybe a fish or two, but in Cambodia, one river held something a lot older. Deep under the flowing water, people found ancient carvings that were over 1,000 years old. This site was part of Cabal Speen, also called the River of 1,000 Lingas. Back in the Angkorian period, people carved detailed designs and symbols right into the riverbed. They believed the sacred water would flow over the carvings and bless the land below. How cool is that? The artwork survived centuries of rushing water, jungle weather, and time itself. Nature and history just teamed up for one of the coolest collabs ever. Tudor Hunt Remains. Old animal bones always tell cool stories, and this one took us straight back to Tudor times. While exploring the English countryside, someone found a wild boar mandible, basically the lower jaw. Wild boar used to roam all over England, especially during the Tudor era when nobles loved hunting them for sport. One popular spot? The Forest of Dean in Gloucestershire. Even old records talked about it, including a fancy gift of boar spears back in the day. Wild boar disappeared from England over 300 years ago, but small groups started showing up again after some escaped farms, so finding this bone, it felt like a little piece of history just waiting in the dirt. Thank you very much for watching the video. Do like it and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to not miss any of the upcoming amazing videos. Thank you once again.